Heavy spoilers ahead, matey. Arr. Let me ask you a question. What happens when you take The Legend of Zelda and God of War and put them together?
Probably some disturbing fan fiction. And Darksiders. That's the idea the people at Vigil Games had, to take the brutal combat from God of War and combine that with the dungeons and items from Legend of Zelda, and I loved it. They did a great job with the first two games until THQ, the company that Vigil worked for, sadly hit the iceberg of bankruptcy and went down like the Titanic in 2013, taking Vigil with them. Then some people from Vigil came back together to form Gunfire Games and brought us Darksiders 3! For those of you who don't know, the Darksiders series is loosely based on things from the Bible, starting with a long-standing feud between heaven and hell, and the four horsemen of the apocalypse: war, famine, pestilence, and death. And they took a few liberties with the source material, such as replacing famine and pestilence with fury and strife. A questionable decision, but I can understand why they did it. I can't imagine famine fighting off the armies of hell, but I thought of a way to make pestilence work.
What the hell are you doing?
Yeah. In each game, you play as one of the four horsemen. In the first game, you play as War, who is falsely accused of starting the apocalypse prematurely and likes to merrily skip around while holding a car over his head. In the second game, you play as Death, who is trying to clear War's name by bringing humanity back from extinction. And in the most recent entry in the series, which is what I will be talking about for the rest of this video, you play as Fury, who is sent on a mission to Earth during the apocalypse to hunt down and capture the 7 deadly sins. At the beginning, you quickly find Envy as a tutorial boss, then you make your way to Haven, where you meet the recurring character Ulthane, who asks you to send any surviving humans to him, and doing so gets you a passive buff when you find enough survivors. Moving on, you find Wrath, and after defeating him, you find out that you don't get a horse in this game because Fury's horse Rampage shows up dead. Then you meet the Lord of Hollows, who gives you your first ability, the Flame Hollow, which allows you to walk through lava without getting hurt, gives you these nunchuck-like things as a secondary weapon, and a boost to your double jump. The charged attack with the flame weapon can be used to burn away spider webs that block the way and set enemies on fire. Along the way, you will face tougher enemies, meaning you need to get better in combat. Perfectly timed dodges will let you use a powerful counterattack, and then there's Wrath. And I'm not talking about the deadly sin. In the Darksiders series, Wrath is the power used for special attacks rather than MP or mana, and in the other games, your Wrath attacks only consume some of your Wrath, but in this game, it's just one big attack that takes the whole bar, and the attack used depends on what hollow you have equipped. With no hollow on, you'd have a hard-hitting, wide-range attack. With the Flame Hollow, you surround yourself with fire and burn any nearby enemies. And I'll talk more about the other effects from different hollows when I get to them. Then there's the Havoc form. Like in the other games, when you have enough power charged up, you can go into a form making you invincible and incredibly powerful for a short time. And this form is usually best saved for a tough encounter. After making it out of the hollows, you'll reach a cave where you have to make a series of jumps while these little turd burglars keep throwing bombs at you. Then you come into a museum and they're still throwing bombs at you, and they have these traps everywhere, and they do so much damage and some of them are really hard to see, leading to some cheap deaths. And while we're on the topic of death, on top of being sent back to the last place you met Volrum, you also drop all the souls you had in the spot you died in the form of whatever the hell this thing is. And the souls in this game function as both money and experience points. When you have enough, you take them to Volrum, then you use them to buy more consumables, weapon upgrade materials, weapon enhancements, and new armor. Or you can feed them to Volrum for an attribute point, which will increase your maximum health, physical damage, or arcane damage. And when you use a consumable item, all of them go into a cooldown for a while, except the Nephilim's Respite, which is basically the Estus Flask from Dark Souls. And now that I think about it, the refillable healing item, the fast travel, the weapon upgrade system, the souls, this game feels like it's trying to be Dark Souls. It's like a nerd dressing from head to toe in leather and riding a motorcycle because he thinks it makes him look cool, but inside he's still a dork. Dork souls. At the end of the museum section, you fight Avarice. After defeating him, the Lord of Hollows pulls you back into his chamber and gives you the Storm Hollow. The Storm Hollow allows you to glide through the air and ride these gusts of wind to gain height while gliding. It gives you a spear as a secondary weapon, and the Wrath attack creates a bunch of little tornadoes that home in on enemies and deal constant damage. This move is great for crowd control. With your new glide ability, you're able to reach Sloth, who has a big bunch of bugs that you have to watch out for. And just so you know, the other sins so far didn't have anything special about their fights. You just learn their patterns, dodge their attacks, and hit them until they die. Sloth is the first one with a noticeable second phase to the fight when he breaks his throat and comes after you himself. And it's just learn his attack pattern and wail on him. After defeating Sloth, you make your way to the Bone Lands, fight your way through a horde of undead angels, solve a few bug-throwing puzzles, find the angels' outpost, fight a horde of them, then you meet Lucille, who gives you Salvation. Salvation is like a boomerang that can be used in combat, but it does very little damage. The only reason you would want to use it in combat is to infuse it with the power of your currently equipped Hollow to give a certain effect to an enemy, such as setting them on fire. The primary use of Salvation is for solving puzzles that require the effect of a certain Hollow at a distance. Near the end of the Bone Lands, you find Lust, who isn't exactly what you'd expect Lust to be. Halfway through the fight, Lucille shows up and promptly betrays you. Now you have to fight Lust while dodging the giant bell that Lucille swings around. You kill Lust, Lucille says sorry and leaves. Then the Lord of Hollows kidnaps you again to give you the Force Hollow and kick you out of his house. On top of making you purple, the Force Hollow gives you a hammer as a secondary weapon that can be used to break barnacles, push blocks, and break an enemy's guard, which I didn't figure out till near the end of the game. It also makes you sink to the bottom of any body of water so you can run around and fight underwater. It also prevents you from being sucked in by certain attacks and lets you turn into a ball that rolls along these crystal tracks on the walls. And the Wrath attack is just a big blast of energy. It's not very flashy, but it has a wide range and deals a good amount of damage. Using the Force Hollow, you travel through the depths, which is mostly underwater, and there's so many places to go here that it's easy to get lost until you notice the ball track on the ceiling leading to the crystal sword that acts as a switch to open the gate that leads to Gluttony. The first phase of the fight is much like every other boss fight in the game. Learn the patterns, dodge the attack, rinse and repeat. Then phase 2 is more like a puzzle that will kill you if you don't solve it. It's not even that good of a puzzle either. You just wait till he tries to suck you in, which he can't even do if you have the Force Hollow on. Then you walk up to one of these bombs, he sucks that in and gets hurt. You just do that a few times, then it's over. This is the only puzzle fight in the game that I know of. In the other two, there were plenty of bosses where you had to find a way to make them vulnerable, and they were all more clever than just approaching a bomb. Once Gluttony is down, the Lord of Hollows pulls you back yet again to give you the Stasis Hollow. This hollow will temporarily freeze the water you walk on, let you wall jump, but only in places where the walls have a blue glow, and you get a sword as a secondary weapon. The Wrath attack makes you invincible for a short time. Any enemy who hits you will be slowed down. The one annoying part of the Stasis Hollow is trying to get items you see in the water. You'd have to disable it and jump into the part of the water that isn't frozen. Come on, pressing an extra button! Ain't nobody got time for that! I'd rather take an axe to the balls! With the power of the Stasis Hollow, you can now make it to the Star. In this place, you find some of the best puzzles in the game that force you to switch between different hollows to reach new places and move a block across the water. But there are also some of the more annoying puzzles where there's a tornado overhead messing with the block you need to move. And when you go up on the surface in these areas, the tornado follows you. If it catches you, you die instantly. Even if you have the Force Hollow on, it still sucks you in. After you kill the tornado, and yes, I said kill the tornado, specifically with fire, you go and fight Wrath again, because he wasn't actually captured after the first fight. During this fight, there are angels and demons in the arena with you. They won't really bother you, but when Wrath kills any of them, he starts regenerating health. There's no real strategy involved here, just hit him as hard and fast as you can. Then in the second phase, he shrunk, and it's pretty much the same as the first fight, but he has a few new moves. After killing him, it's time to go for Pride. When you go to fight Pride, she gets a shield that you just have to hit until it breaks. That aside, it's no different than the rest of the boss fights. Learn the pattern, that's it. In the second phase, there's a statue head floating around shooting a constant beam that can be hard to see, making the fight that much more annoying. Once you beat Pride, the big plot twist comes out, and the Watcher that was with you the whole time was actually Envy in disguise, who was just using you to collect the power of the other sins so that she could destroy the Charred Council and take over the universe. Then you go fight her, and you learn the pattern, dodge and attack, and then the game ends. Overall, the combat felt good, though it was lacking the ability to execute weakened enemies like in the other two games, and the Legend of Zelda part of the formula seemed like it was lost. There weren't any dungeons in this game, or at least it didn't feel like there were. Then there are the parts where the game restricts your movement. You can't jump, you can't attack, you can't move faster than a snail's pace while you're forced to listen to the conversation between Fury and the Watcher. There were times when they talked and you weren't slowed down by it at all.
Really? When the massive statue moves its massive arms so as to create a massive bridge to the exit, you think it's our way out?
I was just excited. You don't have to be mean about it.
Actually, I do.
Why couldn't they all be like this every time they talked? The action is supposed to be in the gameplay, and the talking is supposed to be in the cutscenes, and they got it backwards!
Have I not been the voice of guidance on this mission?
Shut up!
This was by no means a bad game. As its own game, it was good enough that I wanted to finish it, but not good enough to make me want to come back and play it again. But as part of the Darksiders series, it was disappointing. It didn't feel like a Darksiders game. It felt like a mediocre Metroidvania. I just hope they can do Darksiders 4 right.
Sadly hit the iceberg of bankruptcy and and in most recent, that is not proper grammar. Then there's the havoc form, like in the other games you had when you... Why can I not get that line right? Arg. Right off the bat, screw that one up.